Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. Today we're going to be making box number 8 in the treat box series. If you've watched any of the previous videos, I'm going to make each of the boxes the same size overall, so you can use one or more numbers in conjunction with one another. And in addition, I try to use 1/8 of an inch rather than 1/16 of an inch, so you can easily scale up or down the size of the boxes. We'll start by making a template, which you will then draw around to create your front and back panel. And on all boxes, the starting cardstock is 4.5 inches by 7.5 inches. Along the 4.5 inch side, make a pencil mark from top to bottom at 1.5 inches and 3 inches. Alternatively, this is a template, so you could score from top to bottom using your scoreboard. Along the long side, score from top to bottom at 3/4 of an inch, 1.5 inches, 3 inches, 3 3/4 inches, 4.5 inches, 6 inches, and 6 3/4 inches. Rotate the cardstock back and along the central line, so this will be the one which is 3 3/4 of an inch from the top, we're going to mark along the line at 1/16 of an inch under 3/4 of an inch from the left hand side, and then we're going to do the same on the right hand side. So this will give you these two marks here. And then once you've got your lines marked up, marked in black here, you'll then join up the various points to create your number 8 template. I'll leave this on the screen and you can use this to join up the various lines on your template. You will then cut around the outer edge to create your number 8 and then use that to draw around to create your front and back panels for your number 8 treat box. So once you've done that, you will end up with something which looks like this. And we're now going to make the side panels to join the front and back together. On this template here, you can see I've marked the length of each of the side sections. I would recommend you measure the length of each of your sides, and if there is any difference between your measurements and my measurements, you will need to adjust the length of the side strips accordingly and adjust the placement of your score lines. So just bear that in mind as you're putting the box together. The side strip measurements I'm going to give you are based on the length of each of these pieces. In this particular instance, the placement of the opening is here, but you can change the position of the opening by adjusting the side strips accordingly. And if you would prefer, you could cut each of the side elements separately. These boxes are a good way of using your scraps. All you need to do is remember to add on a glue tab to the lengths so you can add the strips together. For instance, you might want to cut this section here as a separate piece. So your cardstock would be 2 1/4 inches plus 1/2 inch. You can then add that on to the next strip, which is going to work its way around the box. You can, of course, choose to have the width of the box any size. And if you've watched any of the other videos, I've made some where they are 1 inch in width and some where they're 2 inches in width. So determine the width of the box that you want and then add on an extra inch, which will give you 1/2 inch glue tab, the width of your box, and then 1/2 inch glue tab to enable you to join the front and the back panels together. I'm going to put the length of each of the strips on the screen here. If you've watched any of the other videos, the construction process on all the boxes is exactly the same. So you can just take down the measurements here and then you can carry on and make your box. I'll just leave this on the screen for a moment. You can obviously pause the video and take a note of all of the measurements. We're going to start with strip A, which is all of this side section, which is in red. Because this box is for demonstration purposes only, I've cut my strip to 2 inches and I've scored at 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches, and I will do that on all 4 strips. Strip A is 10 1/8 of an inch long, scored at 2 1/4, 3 1/4, 4 1/4, 6 1/2, 8 1/8, and 9 5/8. Strip B, again 2 inches wide, scored at half and 1 1/2. Strip B would be 10 1/4, scored at 1 5/8, 3 7/8, 4 7/8, 5 7/8, 8 1/8, and 9 3/4. And strip B is the section which is going to run around like so. Strip C is going to be this purple section, the opening and a tab to fit down inside the box. This is 3 5/8 of an inch long. This is scored at 1 1/2 and 3 1/8. And then finally you'll need 2 strips for strip D, and this is going to be these internal sections at the top and the bottom of the 8. These are 6 1/2 inches long, scored at 1 1/2, 3, 4 1/2, and 6. We're now going to prepare all of the pieces, and on all of the strips you can fold and burnish the long side glue tabs. And then with each of the strips we're going to fold and burnish along each of the vertical score lines. And what you may want to do is, as you fold and burnish your score lines, you may want to burnish them into the orientation that they're going to sit in on your front or back panel. For instance, this is this 2 1/4 inch section here. This first score line is going to be a mountain fold, so that will run like so. The next score line is going to be a valley fold. So for instance, this is strip A. This is going to effectively run around the box like so. So do that on all of your strips. So once you've done that, we're going to do our cutting of our glue tabs. We're going to cut up each of the score lines within the 1/2 inch glue tab at the top and the bottom of each of the strips. This is the top of strip A. I'm going to come down to the 1/2 inch section at the bottom, remove the bottom left and right hand squares, and just take a wedge from the end to create our glue tab. So that would be strip A. And in addition, I'm going to add a finger notch into the top section just to make it easier to get in and out of the box, like so. So we will then work on strip B, and we will do exactly the same, cut up each of the score lines within the 1/2 inch section and create our glue tab at the end. For strip C, again, we can fold and burnish each of the score lines, cut up each of the score lines within the 1/2 inch glue tab. What I'm going to do for section C is, I've got the 1/2 inch tab in front of me. I'm going to remove the left and right hand squares. I'm going to round off the corners of the front tab. This is the flap which is going to sit down inside the box. This section is going to remain free. This is the lid of the box. What I will probably need to do once I stick the front and back panels onto the side sections is just shape the front and back of this hinge so that it fits nicely down into the box. And then finally, strips D, again, you can fold and burnish along all of the score lines and cut up the 1/2 inch sections to create your glue tabs. Once your strips are all prepared, it's just a case of working your way around the box, adding glue onto your glue tabs and manipulating the side sections of the box into place. So I'm just going to work my way around. You can see that the side strips are very easy to manipulate because obviously they're lots of small sections, as it were. So I'm going to work my way around the box, adding all of the strips into place. Now, what I would say is, please bear in mind, this is a hand cut template. This is not an electronic die cutting machine template. If you do get any overhang, obviously what you can do is go around and trim off of the front or back panel if you need to. So for instance here, it's a slight less than a 1/16 of an inch, but I could, if I wanted, just go in with my scissors once it's dry and just trim to shape that. This is a treat box. I'm not expecting this box to be kept forever and ever. So in all honesty, I'm not going to be too concerned. So work your way round. When you get to the end of your first strip, which in our case is strip A, and obviously you don't even need to add your strips on in the same order. We'll take strip B. I'm going to add glue to the end glue tab of strip A, add strip B into place, and then continue adding glue to add the side panels into place all the way until we get to the top of the box. I'm going to add strip C onto strip B, and just remember with strip C that you're only adding glue to this section and this section. This piece here, keep that completely out of the way. That's our opening, and then finally I have my two pieces for strip D, which are going to sit in this orientation, and they're going to sit in the middle of the top and bottom sections. So you might want to complete your square and then stick it in place, or add each section into place as you did with the outside strips. And then we will add glue onto the end glue tab of strip D, and that is going to wrap around the outside of that top section. Can obviously go in with your score tool and just burnish down any of the tabs. Then once you're happy that that is all secure, I'm going to go around, and where one tab overlaps with another, add some glue underneath. This is just going to add a little bit of rigidity and just help maintain the shape. And then I'm going to flip that opening completely out of the way. Take your remaining panel, I'm going to use construction glue. Add your glue all the way around onto the tabs. Don't forget to do the ones in the centre sections. And then take your second panel and sit it on top. Take your time to make sure that it all lines up, which hopefully it will. And again, if you've got any slight overhang, you can go in with your scissors or your craft knife at the end and trim that up. You can see I've got some slight overhang here where I obviously didn't quite cut that accurately, but I can just go in and slice that with my scissors. Once that's dry, I'm just going to check my opening, and I'm going to just cut a slight wedge away from the front tabs, and then that will fit nicely box like so. So there we have our number 8. I will give you the measurements for the matte layer, and again I would recommend that you make one out of copier paper, lay it on the front of the box, see if you like the look of it, and then adjust accordingly. We're starting with a piece which is 4 1/4 by 7 1/4, and we're going to do the same as we did, marking from top to bottom. So your marks along the short side will be at 1 1/4 inches, 1 3/8 of an inch, 2 7/8 of an inch, and 3 inches. Rotate, and on the long side make a mark at 5/8 plus a 1/16. Your next mark will be at 1 1/4. Then it will be 2 3/4 plus a 1/16, 3 inches, 3 5/8 of an inch, 4 1/4 inches, 4 3/8 plus a 1/16, 6 inches, and 6 1/2 plus a 1/16. On the 3 5/8 line, which is this centre line, measure in and mark at 3/4 of an inch from the top and then from the bottom up, and that's going to give you the marks for these two pieces here. Join up the various marks, and when you cut that out, that should give you a template which will give you an 1/8 of an inch border all the way round. So this is my paper, that's going to sit on the front like so. So there's our number 8. You can see this one opens from the top, and as I've said, with this box and with any of the boxes, you could change where the opening is positioned if you so choose. I'll just bring in the number 1 so you can see these are the same height and the same width, and these ones are actually the same depth, so you can see how each of the boxes can work in conjunction with one another if needed. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Since recording this number, I've been asked to produce a 0 and also a number 6, so I will be working on those next, and they will be coming out shortly. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.